Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure to like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So we are currently one day away from the Virginia and New Jersey gubernatorial elections. I wanted to take this time out of my day to give you guys a final update of both races, mainly Virginia, and to give my final predictions for tomorrow. And there are some other elections that will be taking place, so no matter where you live, I encourage you to get out and vote. Obviously, the New York City mayoral election will be taking place. There's some special elections for the House of Representatives in Ohio. So definitely, there are a lot of other elections that are taking place around the country, but the two most high-profile ones are Virginia and New Jersey. Again, it is an off-year election. There's just a few states that hold their gubernatorial elections on an odd-numbered year. Virginia and New Jersey are two of the five, and their elections take place the year following a presidential election cycle. And these races were not supposed to be competitive from the get-go. Obviously, Republicans are energized, they're out of power, they have the energy factor, but nobody in their right mind really expected New Jersey and Virginia about, a good 6-7 months ago from being super competitive. Yet here we are in the polling aggregate the day before the election, and Glenn Youngkin, the Republican outsider candidate, is defeating Terry McAuliffe, the Democrat insider, by almost 2 percentage points in the aggregate right here. And it is possible that there is a push poll for either side that could come through. A lot of people have mentioned a Quinnipiac poll was in the works and it potentially could be released, and this is true. I have a source that claims to know somebody at Quinnipiac, and the results were not super good for McAuliffe. I can't say that that's 100% true given the source. But if that is true, and they do know somebody who works at Quinnipiac, and that's the case, then maybe, if anything, Youngkin would actually increase his lead. But we're seeing this here. And you look at the early vote totals that we're seeing, just over 1 million early votes and mail-in votes have been cast. That's the final, pretty much the final tally. Maybe some mail-in ballots are left to be factored into that tally, but either way, turnout not where it needs to be for the Democrats, especially if they have probably like a 200,000 vote lead or so. If Republicans come out big on election day, it could be game over for Terry McAuliffe, and that's what the polls are showing, and that is what the early vote data is showing now, because there's something called in-person early voting, and a lot of the counties that are in, and I covered this extensively in my video yesterday, are actually super Republican counties. Meanwhile, the counties that have not fully reported that highly are in the Democrat areas. And even in some of the Democrat counties like Arlington, like Fairfax, the precincts that are reporting the highest tally so far are mainly Republican precincts, which is a good sign. Republicans getting out to vote early, and they have to get out big and vote tomorrow, and I do believe that they will. Get out and vote. And Donald Trump agrees, and I actually really like Donald Trump's statement, and I didn't see a lot of criticism from his usual detractors on the right. The neo-never-Trumpers have been very quiet about this. Donald Trump talked about how the Lincoln Project, he called them some of the perverts doing ads, which is so true, and they can't really rebut it. They can't effectively say, oh, look, Trump is being off the wall, because it's pretty much proven that that's who the Lincoln Project's leaders are. And talking about Fox and the ads that go on, and they're trying to sow division in the party, which is really necessary. And Terry McAuliffe is already saying that Youngkin is Trump, and he's, Trump 2.0, Trump for Virginia. They do this every election cycle. They're trying to drum up enthusiasm, and it gets old. I mean, that ship has sailed. I don't think that narrative really was bought by a whole lot of people who could be swayed either way. And Youngkin seems to have built a very strong coalition. So I don't believe Trump's statement is going to be much of a negative for Glenn Youngkin. But in some of these rural counties, the energy needs to be higher, and that's where Trump's base is. Trump's base does exist in Virginia and, southwestern Virginia, and their early vote totals are good, but not perfect. They need to get out and vote on election day. And Donald Trump went out, and he had a good statement. He said, you need to get out and vote regardless of what you think of the electoral system, which is so true, because the only way to win is to get out and vote. And he gets out there and he talks about how Youngkin is a better fit for Virginia, and his policies include lowering taxes, saving your children's education, and then goes on and talks about how Terry McAuliffe is a low-life politician. I don't think that this statement is going to, move the needle much in any direction, except for energizing some more of Trump's base, which is something you need to do. Obviously, Virginia, not the most pro-Trump state, but there are a lot of pro-Trump counties and areas that need to turn out for Glenn Youngkin, so that's important to note. So Trump pretty much hit the nail on the head. That's going to be his endorsement in the race. Now, before we get to my total final prediction, I wanted to show other predictions from the election mafia, which were awful in 2016, awful in 2018, awful in 2020. And I still believe they're bad, obviously, but you look at these ratings right now, they had this race as likely D, then it was lean D, then it was tilt D, then it's toss-up, and Sabato's crystal ball, or you could say the plastic ball, lean R. That is not a typo. That is lean R. They believe it is lean R. Inside Elections, it has a fairly left-leaning bias. Cook Political Report is awful. I mean, they were the ones who thought Iowa was going to flip in the Senate election. And their ranking currently is toss-up. And the Cook Political Report especially is hackish to the left because they know that their neoliberal subscribers, these people that pay hundreds of dollars a year to subscribe to their newsletter and things like that, they just grift because they want to put out what these people want to know, and even they can't cover for their boy anymore. CNN can't do it. None of these polling firms can do it. Washington Post, they can only come up with McAuliffe +1. Washington Post has been one of the more awful pollsters in terms of the presidential election over the past 5 years or so. So when we're looking at this and we're seeing it, it seems as if everybody seems to just be on board with the fact that it's looking like Youngkin is favored. The betting odds have Youngkin up by like 10, 15 cents, and McAuliffe just dropped the ball time and time again, and he's not a good campaigner. And there's no Libertarian Party candidate, although there is a Liberation Party candidate, which is super, super far left, and if anything, that's going to take the Bernie Sanders diehards away from McAuliffe, if anything. So it seems like the third party factor is not really working out in the Democrats' favor right now. So what do they have working for them? Not a whole lot. I mean, other than the fact that Virginia is not the state it used to be. Nova is huge. Nova is super neoliberal. A lot of neocons there. Some of them might come home for Glenn Youngkin, but it seems as if Youngkin has done a great job at his messaging, building the coalition of everyday Virginians that he needs to do. And I firmly do believe that Youngkin is going to win. That is my final prediction. Youngkin will win, and he is going to win, in my opinion, by a couple points, give or take. And this is my final map right here. Again, county margins might not end up all being super accurate at the end of the day. I mean, there's like over 100 counties or city counties in the state of Virginia, but I think he's going to win by roughly around 100,000 votes or so, maybe a little bit less because turnout is going to drop off from 2020. Didn't really account when you look at the end result margins here, but I think it's going to be close to 100,000 votes, maybe like 70, 80,000 vote win for Youngkin. I think he's going to win by just over 2 points. He's got to crack 40 in Fairfax County. I think it's doable, especially if he does see that surge of Hispanic support. He could get Loudoun within 5. When it comes to Prince William County, he can get that one closer to 10. I think you're going to see 2012 Nova margins roughly around there, and I think he's going to do fairly well in the rural areas. I think he'll hold on to a lot of the Trump's base. I think you're going to see turnout fall, obviously, but Democrat turnout's going to fall even more in some of the rural counties. You're going to have even more of a drop-off. Not going to be a whole lot of Trump-McAuliffe voters, that's for sure. And I think in southeastern Virginia, where Youngkin is from, I think he will run up the margins in the Virginia Beach area, do fairly well in the areas surrounding Norfolk. I think he'll do even better in the smaller metros like Richmond. I think it's all going to add up significantly. I think it's going to be close at the end of the day, but I give him probably about a 65% chance at winning. But don't take my word for it. Get out and vote if you live in Virginia. Obviously, anything can happen. When it comes to New Jersey, I do believe that Phil Murphy will hold on by roughly around 7 points. Still encourage people to get out and vote. Could be a little bit closer. I think Ciatarelli will do a lot better in the more suburban portion of New Jersey. I think he'll hold on to Trump's base in southern New Jersey. He'll do very well in Ocean County. He'll do well with Italians. I think he'll improve with Hispanics in places like Newark, just like Trump did in 2020. But by how much, it's probably not going to be enough to end up winning at the end of the day. But still, it's going to be closer, and it's going to show that Democrats are having a drop-off nationwide. And either way, I encourage Republicans not to get super demoralized if McAuliffe ends up winning by a couple of points or so. I don't believe he's going to win by like 3 or 4. I think he might win by 1 or 2 on that 35% chance or so he does end up winning. Yes, it's going to be disappointing, but still that is a massive improvement from 2020 and shows that the energy factor stays with the Republicans ahead of 2022. But honestly, go big or go home. I think Youngkin's going to win, but everybody needs to get out and vote. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description below. As always, guys, go Youngkin. Thanks for watching. Red Eagle out.